So we're just on our way to Cobra to check out the first of the new TwinFin production and also check out the new Acute Custom Carbon Technology. So once the board comes off the CNC machine and we have the outline and everything cut, we then do hand sanding to make sure that the surface is totally smooth, so when we laminate, it has a very clean surface area, so you don't apply any excess epoxy, meaning that the boards are really lightweight and have a nice smooth finish in kind of lamination stage. It's quite important that we preserve the shape once it comes off the CNC. So we have this channel that goes down through the middle. So we need to make sure that we don't sand away any of these edges and we keep the shape as it should be. As the Acute Carbon Technology is a full custom construction, it means that we don't use a mold when we produce these boards. So the inserts are all put by hand and need to be really precisely marked. So it's not like a mold where we have a jig. Here we need to make sure that the inserts are correctly positioned. There is the Cobra outline spec, which is from the scan file. So once we scan the master board, and then he will check that those numbers match the CNC EPS here. So now he's just checking that the channel has the same spec as the paper. So now we're at the insert stage. So the EPS is prepared, then they're going to put the fin boxes in, the leash plug and the handle. So what really sets Cobra quality apart is the reinforcements in the boxes. So they use a PU box first, which is a higher density, which creates a really strong frame around the fin box, meaning it's very kind of secure in the board. That will then get popped inside the board and then the fin box on top of that, and then various layers of fibre under and on top. So the positioning and kind of the layup, the way that we build the boards means that the fin boxes are strong, and particularly on a twin fin where the fins are quite big, you have a lot more pressure on these fins, so making sure the box is strong is really critical. So right now they're going to wet out the epoxy onto the EPS. This epoxy already has the pigment in the resin, so that's why it's that grey colour. And then they're going to first laminate the wood in the standing area here, and then they'll do the various reinforcements before the final deck and bottom lamination. So here, using the squeegee, it's really important that you reduce the amount of resin so the board does not get heavy. So they're wetting it out, but then putting the excess back into the pot so it doesn't have excess resin. So here they're now putting the 150 biaxial carbon on the full bottom over the glass, and this is the final layer for the bottom before we then turn it over and do the deck. So what's also unique about the Acute Carbon Technology is that we're using a heavier EPS core, so 25 kilo instead of 15. And that means that the surface is harder, and when you do a kind of surface preparation, you can have a smoother surface which has less kind of bubbles within the EPS, so it's generally easier to wet out the board ready for lamination. So once the board has been laminated, they then do a full sanding. So here they'll sand the entire board, get all the excess epoxy, and then after that it goes to QC5, where they will again check the rail templates and the rocker stick. So once that's all passed, it will then go to painting and then putting the pads on. So this is kind of the mid stage, getting everything ready, final sanding before it moves to QC. The rocker stick fits perfectly. There's no gaps. It's in tolerance. A lot of companies don't do so many checks, and you know there's variations between production. So making sure that every board goes through the same tests and checks again, that's a step that Cobra does to ensure they have the best quality, but also Starboard, you know, we're here every week. We come and do these checks to make sure that what we're delivering is at the very best quality. So once the board is laminated and it's had the final sanding, it will then get the final painting spray. So here they'll do kind of a mist pass spray over to give it a little bit more color, and then it will go to stickers and pads. So once the board comes out of the spray booth, it then gets to the final finishing stage where we put the stickers, the positioning, and then we put the pads on until the boards are kind of finally packed. So here they're going to position the different logos, the stickers, spray, and then the pads. So when they are putting the different logos and the stickers and the pads, they have all of the measurements and the positions marked on the Cobra spec. So here it gives where the pad should end, where it should start, and where the logos should finish. So this is the 6.9, the 70 litre. Here you can see all the different assets that need to go on the board. So before they put the pad on the board, they first sand the area to ensure there's a good bonding between the EVA and the board. And all of these markings here are where we have cuts in the pad. So when they apply the glue, they don't want the glue to go onto certain areas of the boards where there's cutouts, and that allows us to make sure there's no glue marks on the finishing board. So we're now at QC5, which is the final QC check before the boards get packed. So here we're checking just the final finishing on the board, making sure there's no cosmetic defect anywhere on the board, and checking the fins fit and everything kind of is as should be. Every board comes with a sock and then is packed with cardboard reinforcements. We try and not use any plastic within the wrapping, so using paper tape where we can and switching out bubble wrap or cardboard to minimize our kind of offset. But yeah, the boards now are going to be packed in a board sock and then get ready to ship out.